Okay, this Urban Jungle stroller is one that we got in for a more or less complete overhauling. And one of the key problems with it was that the black paint has chipped and as a result of rust, and revealed a lot of rust underneath. So what I'm going to show today is how to prepare the surface of the Urban Jungle for repainting and how to repaint it. I've already done a bit of the preliminary sanding, but the first thing you want to do is to go over the stroller and find all of the areas where there's rust and chipping paint and sand it down. There's often rust along the back brake area as well as some of these bars underneath, and of course the front wheel is the largest of the problems. So you want to find areas where there is rust and peeling paint, and then you want to sand down the peeling paint, the same as if you were painting a house, for example. Afterwards, you want to wipe down all of the areas that you've sanded, and in fact anywhere else along this black painted metal, with a wet sponge or a wet rag to remove all of the excess dust or mud that might be there. And then, if you're using a product such as Hammerite that can paint directly over rust, then you can skip the next stage. I've found in relation to urban jungles that it's difficult to get black Hammerite that has the correct amount of gloss and the correct shade of black in a way. So this means that I have to use other metal paints. What I use is one with a gloss and one that is matte. And I mix them together because the paint on the Urban Jungle is sort of in the middle. It's a medium degree of gloss. But before that, because these paints are not like Hammerite, capable of painting directly over rust, I need to first further prepare the rusty areas with some rust eater. This is an acid grease, and I will be painting this onto all the areas that have had rust with a small brush, and then leaving the product for, say, 15 to 20 minutes. It's now been about 15 minutes since we applied the rust eater, and what has happened is that the rust eater has eaten through a good degree of the rust, and what has not been removed has been chemically altered, such as to provide a protective layer for the metal underneath and also to provide a middle layer for painting. So we want to remove this first with something dry because it is a grease, and then in most cases, other than when you're using it with painting, you would only remove rust eater with something dry and perhaps polish the metal with WD-40 or something later. But in only this specific case, we are now going to use something wet just to make sure that we have all of it gone. Normally when you wipe away rust eater with a wet rag or cloth, it will cause a permanent white calcified sort of discoloration. But since we're going to paint over the area anyway, it's okay in this circumstance. Okay, now the stroller has dried after wiping away with a wet cloth the areas where I had used rust eater, and now it's time to apply the black paint. I've mixed my black paint, half with a gloss and half with a matte finish, and now it is simply a matter of painting over the areas that need to be painted over. You want to get the paint as smooth as possible, of course. This will, of course, not provide as professional a look as if one was to use spray paint, but for anybody who has spray painted before, that is quite an undertaking. So this is a fast solution in comparison with taping off all of the areas that would not need to be spray painting and use spray paint. However, this will provide protection against future rust and will make the stroller look decent when it's finished. Now we're all finished painting the stroller, and afterwards I'll clean up any areas where the paint has gotten on the plastic or the metal with some nail polish remover, some acetone. Otherwise, the stroller is finished.